Toronto rental market is facing a shift that hasn't happened in many years. Rents are dropping and at a rapid pace.
Rental prices are down right across the GTA, but Toronto saw the biggest decreases in rent in 2024.
Look at this one condo that was leased in October of 2023 for $3,100, and now it's leased for $2,475, which is 20% less than its last lease amount. The second condo was leased for $2,450, and it's now being leased for $2,200. So in these two examples, we can see a decline of 10 to 20% in rents. More rental units are hitting the market, and the landlords are competing to get the tenants in. So is this a temporary dip, or are we going to experience a long-term shift? My name is Harpreet Singh, a financial advisor turned into a real estate agent who sells real estate in Pickering and close by cities. You can book a 15-minute call with me with the link in the description below. For many years, condos were the ultimate investment vehicle. You buy them pre-construction, hold them, and then you rent them for a premium. The reality of 2024 hit hard. Supply outpaced demand and the rent started to decline. If you look at this graph, you can clearly see when the pandemic initially hit, the rents went down because no one was moving, no one was buying, no one was moving into the country. But right once the people started buying and housing became expensive, the rents also started increasing, and they kept on increasing up until 2024. And right after 2024, you can see the average rent has come down from $2,800 to about $2,600. So here is the problem. Many of these units were bought by investors in their pre-construction phases. And during COVID, everything was pretty much stopped. There was no construction, there was no construction crew, and all these projects got delayed. And when majority of these buildings finished in 2024, there was oversupply of condominiums. The resale market was very low that the people could not even sell these units, and investors had no other way than to rent out these properties despite of having negative cash flow. Let's analyze what the numbers look like. In Q4 of 2024, 10,916 new condominium apartments were completed, a 71% increase from the prior year. Total number of completions in 2024 reached a record-breaking 29,800 units, up 61% from the 10-year average. And this trend will continue. 2025 is projected to see over 30,793 units hitting the market. That means more supply of condominiums in the market. The result, with more choices than ever, tenants have an upper hand, which is driving the rents down and pushing landlords to provide discounts on their units. And landlords have no choice than to discount the units to lease them out as soon as possible to stop bleeding their negative cash flow. If we check the number of available units for lease in downtown Toronto in February of 2025, there is 3,591 units available for lease, which is not including purpose-built rentals, apartment buildings managed by property management, and private listings on Facebook and Kijiji. That is a lot of units available and a lot of choices for tenants. According to the latest report, one-bedroom condos rent is down by 8% and two-bedroom condos are down by 10%, which is bringing the average rent for one-bedroom condo at $2,385 and for two-bedroom condos at $3,115. But this shift in rental prices is not just happening in downtown Toronto, it's also happening in my city of Pickering, Durham, and overall GTA because the rental demand has come down. This is one of the listings in Pickering, which was leased for $2,700 last year, and now it's being listed for $2,600. But the completion of pre-construction condos is not just one reason why the rents are falling. There is another reason, which is a surge in purpose-built rentals. Purpose-built rentals are buildings that are made for the sole purpose of renting them out. For many years, all the developers were focusing on pre-construction condominiums because that's where the demand was. But now with increased interest rates, so much supply, and plummeting demand for these condos, these developers have shifted their focus towards rental buildings. And this shift is further incentivized by government providing less development charges and favorable financing conditions for builders who are building these purpose-built rentals.
The city will cut property taxes and waive development fees for projects that meet the guidelines for purpose-built rental housing. In other words, homes built to be rented out. The city has decided to go ahead with 7,000 rental units with the hope that the province and the feds sign on, considering that governments tend to be pretty territorial about creating their own programs.
In December of 2024, the City of Toronto approved 17 applications, adding 7,156 new rental homes. And by the end of 2026, the city is planning to add 20,000 rental homes. With favorable financing available and less development charges, the cost of building these rental homes is cheaper, which allows developers to have a higher profit margin, but as well as have a cheaper construction cost, which allows the property management to lease this unit out for a lower rent. and therefore it creates further competition for private condo owners. You might have heard every news channel talking about housing shortage, and if we have so much supply of condominiums and so much supply of rental homes, then why is this a big problem? So for every supply, we need to have demand. With the immigration changes that were introduced last year, we could see a change in demand.
The federal government is making big changes to Canada's immigration system. The target for permanent residents is dropping from 500,000 to 395,000 next year, with further reductions in 2026 and 27. Well, the number of temporary residents will also be cut over the next 3 years from just over 7% of the population to 5%.
Many years, high immigration was a key driver for the rental demand, where 50% of the new immigrants decided to move to Toronto or close by areas as soon as they landed. However, on October 2024, the Government of Canada announced a major shift, and that was to slash the immigration target by 20% for next 3 years. What does it mean for the rental market? A lot of people were buying condominiums for rental purposes and not to live in. A lot of these units were bought by investors to buy them, hold them, and rent them out. With less immigration, we will see less demand and therefore less rental income and more negative cash flow for landlords. So what are the broader implications of this situation on tenants and landlords? Of course, for tenants, this is a favorable situation because now you can save on your rent and you can use that extra cash flow for investments or even to buy your own house. However, for most of the landlords, it is a tough situation because negative cash flow could be as high as $1,000 in some of the cases, because when these pre-constructions were bought, they were bought at the peak of the market. But at this point and in this situation, the landlord should focus on getting the right tenant in their property so they can cover some of the payment. However, from a holding and appreciation perspective, there would be some time before you see any money to be made on these condominiums. Because one of the reasons that I personally see in these new condominiums is the size. The size of the units are not big enough for some of the families to consider these properties as their first home. And we have seen a lot of new buildings creating smaller units. However, with interest rates coming down, it is giving some ease to the landlord, but they'll have to keep in mind that they're going to have to hold these condominiums for a longer time before they see any real appreciation.